Hostile Territory.
Hi everyone and welcome to Hostile Territory. In this video we'll be talking about something that is very important. Perhaps the most important video of all of the videos on this channel. And that is the health issues you may experience when working in a toxic and hostile workplace. I must say before we start, as a sort of disclaimer, and this is obvious, that this is not any kind of professional help. We will not be talking about medicine, medical topics. Those I leave to, of course, to professionals, and if you have any kind of mental or physical problems regarding that, you should go to professionals first and seek their help. What this is simply one more video about me telling the issues I had in the hope that you will get some useful information and that you will be able to perhaps avoid it. Now, before we start, I must just say one more thing that I noticed. Again, this is my view on the whole subject. How does a toxic and hostile workplace influence you? I worked for 12 years among people who had bad intentions towards me. However thick skin you have, however thick the armor around you you've built for protecting yourself against those kinds of people, eventually it will soften. Eventually it will start to crumble and break. I think this is part of the human nature, okay? You can't be in a protective stance all the time. It's exhausting, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of patience, manipulating everything else, and that is all tiresome. All of that exhaustion simply gets you to one point. When your body is in a constant state of protecting itself, it simply burns out. This is, again, in layman's terms. It starts to burn out and it starts easily losing its ability to protect and preserve itself. This is what a toxic and especially hostile workplace does to you. It starts spending you easily. And how much you can take it depends on how thick your armor is that you have around you. But eventually it will come to the point that it will affect your health, more or less. The first symptom I would like to talk about and the first symptom that is a telltale sign that you should start addressing this issue, is that you're constantly tired. There is constant fatigue. So even if you work a normal shift, in my former company, I used to work for 12, 15, 17-hour shifts, so being tired was pretty normal in certain situations. But if you work normal shifts, let's say 8 hours, and if it's a day shift, for instance, and if you're constantly tired even after that, then you may have a problem. If you come home, all you want to do is sleep, you don't have any will to do anything else, you don't have any patience for your spouse, family, loved ones. If all you want to do is sort of put a blanket over your head, watch some TV and everybody leave you alone, then you may have a problem. This is normal from time to time, of course, but if this is a constant state where you do this all the time, you should think about it. Besides this, if you have abnormal sleeping patterns, so if, for instance, if you can't sleep at night, if you wake up at night, if you have constant problems with getting a healthy sleep from, let's say, 10 o'clock in the evening to 6 o'clock in the morning, that is also a telltale sign, okay? If you wake up, if you're all excited, if you have these panic attacks, which we'll be talking later in the video, this is also a very big problem. Alongside this, if you get the urge to sleep at daytime when you come from work and sleep for 4 or 5 hours in one piece, then this is also an alarm for that problem. So a bad sleeping pattern is also a major sign that the toxic workplace may be affecting you. After being in a constant state of fatigue and after having an irregular sleep pattern, usually comes the third symptom, which is, in my humble opinion, the most serious one, and that is an immune deficiency problem. Now, I'm going to talk about this in layman's terms, okay? So please go and see YouTube videos where professionals talk about this. It's a much better explanation. But essentially what happens is that because your body is trying to sort of preserve itself and it doesn't have all it needs to preserve itself, the immune system starts failing. What happens? Your body is not able to protect itself even from the common cold, not to mention the flu, not to mention any kind of inflammation and else. And the result of this is a constant state of sickness, more or less. You may be feeling nausea, you may get headaches, your sinuses might hurt. I don't know, these are just some of the symptoms that I had problems with. You may get inflammations all the time from seemingly from nowhere, So if you see this happening, you're feeling sick all the time for months at a time, you should definitely start solving the problem, okay? Either start finding another job, do something at the toxic workplace that we talked about in the other videos. Just try and preserve yourself, okay? At this point, if you don't do anything, you may get yourself into serious trouble. Now, these were the physical symptoms that I wanted to talk about. Now we're going to talk about the, I don't know, I'm sorry if I'm not saying this properly, psychological elements of it. You may have, especially if you were in a line of work like I was, where there is stress, problems, everything is expensive, a little mistake can have very big consequences. If you're in a job like that, a common thing is to have anxiety issues. Now, again, as someone who is not a professional, I'm not going to go deep into this, but if you get that notion that every time you get something to do, you get a job, a project, something else to do in your working place, and all of a sudden your inner pressure builds up and you may hear ringing in your ears. If it all starts to boil inside, oh my God, what am I going to do now? If you have those kinds of problems, then you should perhaps think about getting out of there. This is, again, in my personal experience, this is normal to happen if you're at the beginning of the job, at the beginning of your career in that company. It is normal for you to be afraid if you don't know how to do something. It is normal for you to be afraid if you have certain responsibilities and everything else. But if you work in a normal workplace, that will disappear over time as you gain experience. But if it doesn't, if even after 10, 11, 12 years you have this problem, then you should get out of there. I must mention one thing again from my own experience. Anxiety gets out of control after a certain period of time. So even if you do things where you have experience, you've done it thousands of times, it's a super routine, okay, there's no problems. If you get an anxiety attack even on those types of jobs, then you should certainly get out of there. Closely linked to anxiety is a buildup of fear towards your work. This is sort of fear and repulsiveness towards your work. So when you get up in the morning, this is perhaps one of the easiest symptoms to spot, and that tells you what the real situation is. If you feel like you're going to a bad place, if you feel like you have a sentence that you have to work off, if you feel that you would rather go and dig a ditch than go to work, then this is really a sign of problems, okay? Even worse, if you have fear of work. So if you wake up in the morning and you start thinking, oh my God, what's going to happen today? Oh my God, what are they going to do to me today? Oh my God, he's going to yell at me, or she. Oh my God, what am I going to do? What kind of setup will they make for me and everything else? That is a certain sign you should get out of there as soon as possible. One more thing I would like to mention, and this is a medical condition that I'm not capable of talking about this, but I must mention it since lots of, for instance, my former friends and colleagues that worked in the same line of work mentioned this as a problem. I, thank goodness, did not have problems with it, but it seems to be a constant condition among people, especially in stressful jobs. The problem is depression, and I'll stay at that. So people, are in this constant gloomy state. They only see bad things. They are always in a bad mood. I don't know, this is again in layman's terms. So depression seems to be a very common problem. But again, on this part, I would just like that you consider this problem and take a look at it on other channels where it is more professionally explained. What is depression, how to fight with it, where does it come from, and so on. For the last thing I must mention for you, and this is again for the 6th time, I think, from personal experience, and that is a bad physical condition. This goes double if you're in a line of work where you sit a lot and you're constantly under stress and you're constantly under bad influences and everything else. Believe it or not, even if you train or even if you work out, your physical condition will start to deteriorate. Why? I really don't know. I noticed that since every day I came from work when the shifts were normal, I'm a fan of outdoors, okay? So I go out, work around the house and everything else. But I noticed that, especially in the later phases of the problem, my physical condition started sort of, it wasn't the same. There was always the problem of the middle years kicking in. I hope that's the right expression, middle age kicking in. But to be honest with you, I couldn't run as much as I could. For instance, I couldn't work as much. I always lost my breath. My muscle volume was going down. And all of this was sort of connected with the constant fatigue, the immune deficiency issues, so it can be more towards that. But I would like to mention it if you notice, this could also be a symptom that you should address this matter. For the end, I would like to share with you some things that helped me get through all of those issues and problems that I ignored lots of times because I didn't think about myself, but I thought more about the work, the company, the business, and everything else, which was a big mistake at the end of the story. First, when you're working, and especially if you're working a sedentary job, when you sit a lot in one place, take a lot of walks. So if the company lets you, get out of your chair and at least once an hour make a 100-1200 meter walk around the company, around the building, or anything else. This will enable the body to make more circulation of blood, and it will be better for your overall health. The muscles will work, and so on. Next, what is very important, feed yourself with healthy food. Now, I had the practice of carrying my own food with me. My wife would make my favorite healthy food, and I had that luxury of feeding myself with good food. Try to avoid junk food, try to avoid sweets, try to avoid sodas and everything else. Try to drink teas, try to eat meals that are homemade, that are cooked at least, and eat vegetables, eat fruit, okay? Try going down that line. Again, watch YouTube videos where professionals explain this, and you'll get a lot of diets and menus where you can successfully feed yourself through all of this. It will help your immune system, and it will help fight against fatigue. Also, drink a lot of water. So a liter of water a day will help you. In an 8-hour shift. A liter of water will be, I think, enough for you to sort of rehydrate your organism. I've noticed that in a toxic workplace, if you're constantly exhausted and if you're fighting against that, your body gets seriously dehydrated, as if you were jogging the whole time. Next, do not overwork yourself. And this, remember, very good. What I did to myself is overwork myself on my own initiative, on my own stupid initiative. What I did is, I just want to finish this. I just want to finish that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Oh my goodness, the shift's going to end. I want to finish this. I want to finish that. You're never going to finish the job. There is always work, and there is always something you should finish. Exceptions would be if you work in a good company that recognizes all that rewards you for your time. That is a different story, okay? And even in those cases, you should be careful. If you're working in a toxic and hostile workplace, avoid this like wildfire. Do simply what you have to. To avoid conflicts, avoid nagging from the boss, anything else, just finish the job and leave. Nothing more above that, okay? Even if there is a chance for you to prove yourself, prove some point, maybe it will bring you some good points, it will do nothing good for you in a toxic or hostile workplace. You'll just end up like me. You'll end up doing other people's work for them and them getting all the credits for it. Trust me. And you'll end up with the constant fatigue, the immune deficiency, all in all, a bad state. For the end, one more thing that I've mentioned probably in numerous videos. Do not take a job in a toxic and hostile workplace seriously. Okay, do not take it personally. All that you do in that kind of place should be only for the paycheck, the benefits, and for your well-being and the well-being of your spouse, family, friends, whatever you're doing it for. Don't cause problems at work, don't make trouble, but do not take it seriously. If you make a mistake, try to not think about it, okay? Mistakes happen. If someone tells you something bad, think nothing of it, just here it enters, here it comes out in an instant. Try something like that. Just do what you have to, okay? Don't do a sloppy job, don't do a bad job, don't make problems for yourself, but simply know that the job is there only for the paycheck, and the moment you get a better opportunity, a better chance, you will be out of there, and treat it like that. So that's it for this time. Please like and subscribe. It's a huge help for what we're doing. If you find the time, watch our other videos. I hope they will be helpful and that you can find some useful tips for getting through a toxic and hostile workplace. I must mention once more, and please make this a rule for you while you're in such a bad environment. Your health and you are in first place. If you ruin your health, in most cases you cannot get it back, okay? Some things do not return, and you will be damaged for the rest of your life. No job, no paycheck, nothing is worth that. Trust me, when you get to that point, God forbid, nobody cares. Absolutely nobody. Not your company, not your co-workers, nobody. They will probably not even call you to ask you what's going on. You will be left alone, and the only people who will be at your side probably will be your loved ones. Your spouse, your children, your parents, your friends, close friends, and everything else. Those are the people who care. So once more, when you're in a toxic and hostile workplace, always have that in mind. Have your health and your loved ones in mind. Thank you for watching. I sincerely hope this helps, and thanks for your time.